Okay. Now, from yesterday, or the last video that you've seen, you remember how I had talked about when I finished the little twin beds, taking the bunk beds and turning them into individual little beds, that I was like, oh, they need to have a little something here at the end of the bed. Well, the toy chest is what I intended to go at the end of the bed, or a chest of some sort. This could be a toy chest. It could be something else. And again, as I'm working on these and looking at them, it's like, oh, I could shorten this a little bit and change this into something else. There's always the possibility of changing things. But what I worked on yesterday I made 2 of these. These are the Doris lion pieces, the ones that I found in an instructional book or magazine. It was school instruction, like normal school instruction and something or other. It ran from it was basically a periodical for teachers, instructors in rural schools, and it had lesson plans and ideas and dittoable things. And she had done several pages with little pieces of foldable paper furniture that would be used in a dollhouse lesson. Now, when I say dollhouse lesson, it was more along the lines of, remember, back in our olden days, they weren't just teaching you reading, writing, and arithmetic. They were teaching you all kinds of things about how to keep a house and how houses run. And it was basically using these little foldable pieces as an instrument to talk about home life and what you do at home. As a teacher, you could use it for a million different kinds of prompts for writing. You could use it for prompts for mathematics, all kinds of stuff. Geometry, all kinds of really cool stuff. I took her design, and this is basically, I made very few modifications to this. I put the artwork on, of course. I added, the little bottom piece so it fits a little snugger. I think the biggest thing that I did was I changed the way the legs look. That's pretty much it. This is her design. I even kept the little lock and the little hinges here exactly the same. So I have another one that's a way fancier version too. The one big thing that I did was, if you look in here, I've added some structure. If you look here on the top, if I can get that to focus, you can see I put 2 layers of the heavyweight paper, then another piece of cardboard that's wrapped in painted paper. The cardboard that I used, if I can find a scrap of it around here, I need to make some more of it, is this stuff. This is kind of bowed a little bit. And you can see it's the laminated, it's 2 pieces. This is actually, I think it's a pizza box. So that's what I use. When I say pizza box, I mean like a frozen pizza from the grocery store kind of thing. And then those were cut to size and fitted. And then I added the wrapped paper. You can see there's a little bit of mistake there. If you look right there, you can see that white line. That's not good. But anyway, another reason to use the painted paper is because I can really easily come in with a paint marker, if I want to make any corrections. If there's something there, like you can see here, if I open this one, I used green on the inside. You can see, I don't really like that line. I could do something there to kind of unharsh that line with the paint pen. I like how this turned out with the green. And it gives them a little bit more heft. They aren't as squishable. I really like how the decorations turned out for these pieces. I think Doris would be okay with this. And then on the purple one, I need to sit down and do a bunch of painted paper. Oh, let me see if I can get this. Part of the reason for doing this kind of lid, it's kind of an inset lid, which means I can close it and it'll stay down. That was part of the reason for doing that. But you can see in here, I didn't quite have enough of the purple paper. I had some that had kind of blue and purple together. So I use those in combination, and I think it works out just fine for the pieces here. And you can see I used the paint marker on the bottom. I decided to use color instead of the wood. It also occurred to me when I was cutting these out and putting these together that I can give instructions in any digital file to print the image on one side and then flip it over and print the wood grain on the other side. So when you cut it out, you won't have the wood on the other side, that you won't have that white on the other side, and you don't have to do it a whole lot of painting. I think that's a pretty easy peasy way to fix that kind of thing if all you're really interested in is cutting it out and putting it together. Which I think the vast majority of people are going to be, you know, in my small niche of people who would want to purchase these. They just want to cut it out and put it together. And they, you know, the decoration's already done. So yeah, so I've got that. I did that yesterday. These went together. Again, I just slowed myself down. It's so hard to go slowly when I want to get stuff done and I want to do more stuff. So I really went slowly on these, and I think that's the reason they came out really well. I also had, okay, ignore these. These are for the twin beds that I'll be working on over here. If I can get that last one out, he's stuck. This is the Hans Christian Madsen. That the structure is completely. I've made very few adaptations. I think that I'm going to make a few more. And I don't like how some of this came out on the inside. You can see this insert piece here. I like the illustration, but I don't like how I can still see the tabs. I tried to do something here, and I don't like it. I also think I made the huge mistake of printing these way too small. These need to be about a centimeter bigger, or a centimeter longer, or at least 6 to 7 centimeters bigger, longer, wider. Because getting in here with these teensy tiny little curves just about broke me in half. I have several of these. I'm going to give it another shot, and I have some ideas to change. I made some notations last night that I'm going to be following a little bit more. I showed you the golden cradle. I'm going to try some of that and see if that helps, because there's some bowing here I don't like. The cradle itself, I'm still in love with. I think it's fabulous, because he's Madsen. He was fucking brilliant. Sorry for dropping the F-bomb, but the dude was brilliant when it came to designing these things. So I'm gonna give this another whirl and see if I can make it the way I want it to look, or at least get a little closer, if that makes any sense. So yeah. Oh wait, and I did make some changes here, because I got these all prepped and I wanted them to dry last night. You remember how I added in the paper on the purple version and the pink version over here, the little side pieces that pop out? Well, I decided to not be stupid, because I only had one of these left, and I cut this out. If we're looking at it like this, I cut it out as a rectangle, and then I made some measurements and glued the paper, because you can see I've kind of got scraps that I'm working with now. I glued the paper where it is supposed to go and let it sit underneath something, and then cut them out together. So I glued this on first, then flipped it over and cut around the outside. Worked way better. And again, that thing that I talked about earlier of having, you know, you can print these things out. So you've got this on one side, and then print out a wood grain or another kind of thing on the inside, and not have to worry about any of this, you know, colorful zhuzhing, unless you really want to, because, you know, I want you to express yourself with my artwork. So yeah, that's where I am right now. Man, my throat is killing me. Having the cooler on irritates my throat big time. And I have my one live tonsil. My left one doesn't ever do anything. It just lays there. My right tonsil has gotten really, really irritated between the coughing, the dry throat, and then the irritation of having air-conditioned air. It's just not happy. So I kind of sound a little gross and really, really want a cough drop and something to drink. So in my plans, we're going to have a bigger one of these. I'm going to print out some smaller ones of these. And I have one that's smaller that's cut out. I need to find it. And make that one today, too. So I got a lot to do today. So, zeroing in on tiny cradle. Okay, wait, we've got to use the Maloney. Does Maloney fit? Oh, Maloney fits, but she's a little big. Okay. Oh, let's see if I can get her to lay down. There we go. You lay down in there. And that would be built up and all pillowy and stuff. Because, babies, they need to be warm and stuff. So, the Maloney test, she fits. Ah! Oh no, poor Maloney. Okay, I gotta go away. I need a cough drop. Thank you. Thank you, patrons. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.